I'll get you a nail in just a little bit, okay? Well, this is the Rugrat and my most recent creation. We've been desperate to get more heat up here. That is the vent, and I just use a dryer fan, salvaged from a dryer, but the impeller grenaded on me, and I scrounged another one, and the pitch is different, and anyways, it doesn't push nearly enough. So what we're doing, these are car radiators, obviously. They're ones out of a Chrysler, oh crap, what was that? Dynasty, and one was, I think, has a Tempo. They match, more or less they match. And so this rack is designed to fit precisely on top of the stove. They're just long enough. Good job, bud. I see you dropped it. Hold on. Hold on. They're just long enough that the plastic end caps stick out after the edges, so they will not receive any of the actual direct heat. Of course, it's a double-walled stove, and so all the heat will rise up through these two. This is the aluminum 4-core radiator, very efficient thing, out of the Audi we stole the turbo out of to turbocharge the Jeep. So that will be upstairs, and this will function like a 1890s Victorian house heater. These two will sit on top of the stove. The water obviously will get heated. It'll rise to the second one, and it'll come out the port on the top of this one through just basic convection. That will then raise up through the floor all the way up and be ported into the top of this radiator. The fan will then blow through this. Water cools, becomes heavier, more dense, comes out the bottom, and will flow back around to the port down here and re-enter the system. And this is how they used to heat Victorian houses. So I got my fingers crossed it will salvage quite a bit more heat out of my stove, because I pump a lot of heat downstairs that doesn't get used. It just goes off into nowhere. And so this way, fingers crossed, we can put some real honest to goodness heat up here. My blower fan, excuse me, is, oh shoot, let me stop this for a second. Okay. Oh, good putting on your ears. Alright, so the blower is simply, if I can get any light on it, is simply the Saab's, hey Shay, one moment please. It's simply the Saab's radiator fan. And what I've done is I've converted an old beefy power supply into just a power unit. And I've got the option of 3.3 volts, but right now I actually am running it on 5. Slows the fan down nicely. It's pretty darn quiet. It's going to pull the air through, so right now this backer board's mounted on in reverse. Oops. But this will go on the wall right there, spanning that conduit. That box and the crap will move. And then that is almost directly on top of the stove, giving us the smallest possible loop. Smallest possible loop for the water and the convection. And yeah, I don't know how she'll work. I know it. I mean, look at my breath. I don't know if you can see it. I've had the fan and the fire going up in here in 2 hours. And boy, I mean, we're only at like 23 degrees. This was always brutal for me, but it's just impossible for him. So I got to see if I can get some more heat. We'll find out. It should put out a substantial amount of BTUs, and what I've noticed is that long after my floor vents start blowing cold air, the top of my stove is still nice and toasty warm. So I'm hoping the circulation will maintain and I'll get a longer heat, slower heat maybe. I mean, I'll still have the air for the quick, but maybe a slower heat, but it'll last a little longer. I'm gonna fill it with the cheapest automotive antifreeze I can possibly find, and I'm gonna go the old Victorian system, so it will not be pressurized. It'll have a T right there and a jug or container of some sort, because when the water heats up it expands, so it takes up more room, and I don't want to deal with pressurized systems. I mean, I guess I have a bunch of radiator caps that ought to work that, but I'm gonna have a no pressure system and see if that works. If it doesn't work, all right, well then I'll worry about a pressurized system. But for the moment, we're gonna give this a shot. And the jug will be on the coolant side, the side down, because I don't want it to interfere with the warm water convection currents. A 4-core aluminum radiator, it should be pretty cooled off by the time it reaches the bottom. I should get some pretty rapid circulation through 1.5 black poly water line is all I'm going to use. It should handle temperatures, I think. I mean, there'll be no pressure on it, so it should handle the temperatures okay. It's not going to melt. Oh, that made perfect sense to all of us on YouTube, bud. Can you say bye-byes? Bye-bye. Any waves? Wait. Good job.